Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing poet authors of a new book that we have coming out. This one is called 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing. And I'm really proud to say that I'm the lead author of this one this time, you guys. And I can't believe we haven't done poetry before now, like in our collaborations. I'm so excited about this book. This book is a few things. It's a story about our author and the why of their poetry, right? How poetry was a part of their life. And then they're going to share poems. And then after the poems, we're going to give you a writing prompt in the book. We're going to ask you to reflect and maybe do some journaling and some thinking about these amazing questions our poets have for you. There's so much in this book, and I really, really can't wait to get it out into the world. But first, let's meet our poets. Today, I have Lisa Karasek with me. She is an expert conscious development practitioner and intuition educator. Lisa, thank you so much for being here today. We have Nicole May Tuttle, and she is the founder of Lady May Impressions. She weaves her wisdom, knowledge, and experiences into her artwork, novels, poetry, meditations, and music as a way to bring awareness to and normalize mental health. Nicole, thank you so much for being here today. Nuria Gabatova is with us. She's a compassionate innovator and founder of iSchool for the Future. She draws on her expertise in education, research, and project management to transform learning environments by seamlessly blending social and emotional learning with academics and STEM. So, okay, Lisa, you're going to start the party off today. Tell us a little bit about the why behind your chapter.
The why. So life is really hard. The world is really hard. Energy is really hard. And you can you can get to a point where things get better. You have to become your own cheerleader. You have to do your own thing. But when you have the right support and everything, you can get there closer and faster if you want to, and get to the joy space that you really know that you deserve. And so my why behind this chapter and my poems is because I want you to know that we've all been there. And when you get to the other side, it's better. And you will get there, I promise, because if we can do it, you can do it.
So for the poetry for you, I wonder if some of you have the same thing as me. Like in school, I learned about poetry and both analyzing and writing poetry. And what happened for me at a young age is I got completely turned off to poetry in general. And it took me as an adult, like that many years later, to come back to it. Lisa, how about for you, for your story there? Like, how was it for you learning about poetry, and how do you feel about it now in comparison?
In school, it was very, like you said, I actually didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was taught. I thought it was, I didn't like it. Nothing made sense to me. I thought it was just weird stuff. But once I tapped into my feelings and then realized that I didn't have to follow rules, that there weren't really rules, that it could just be about what's coming from the heart, then yeah, I fell in love with it. But yeah, in school, it was awful. It was, I just didn't like it. I didn't even think I wanted to pursue it.
So, Lisa, what inspires your poetry now the most?
All kinds of weird stuff. I don't know. I get, sometimes I'll just be walking and some thought will hit me and I'll just like have to stop and do it. Sometimes images bring things out of me. And then I mentioned in the book, when I'm going through something rough, as I go through the process of trying to heal through it and process through what I just went through, sometimes it comes out that way as I kind of like reflect in to myself, go in. And sometimes the way my feelings come out on paper when I'm journaling come out like poetry. So I get inspiration from a lot of different places. It's not only just one.
Have you published your poetry before this book?
No, this is my first time.
I couldn't remember if this was
Very
going to
exciting.
be a first poem published or not. Yeah, then that's a warrior's path. So it takes a little bit of courage. What do you want our listeners to know about that?
About the warrior's path or about publishing
About
poetry?
publishing for the first time, your poems, your beautiful gifts that you're going to be giving the world in this book. Like, it's a big deal to me, you guys. And I always love to ask our authors about it because it's no small task to do this.
No. So this particular chapter with these particular poems, for me, they're like gut wrenching. So to have them be read by the world, to be shared, yeah, it's a little like I'm proud, but it's also a little like, wow, it really happened. Kind of like when I wrote my first chapter in my first book with you. But yeah, it's different. Poetry is different on some level. So it's really, my feelings are definitely exposed for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing, because that's how I feel as well. You've published chapter in our books where you're stepping up as the master teacher that you are, but now just speaking to our listeners today, poetry is different. Poetry is like ripping out chunks of our heart and showing them to you. It's like vulnerable, it's intimate, it is different, and it's connected. It's so powerful. And Lisa, thank you so much for being here in this collaboration.
Thank you.
Nicole, tell us a little bit of the why behind your chapter. And let me get you to unmute first, Nicole.
Hi.
There
It's all
she
right.
is.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much. You know what, intended to write this like magnificent, super positive, you can do anything kind of chapter. And I wanted it to be for people who ever felt in their life like they just couldn't get through something. And what came out instead, because when you sit down to actually do the thing, sometimes it takes on its own life, was all those moments where we all have had them, right? Where we feel like, I just don't know if I'm going to survive this. And the pain and the struggle of that, to get to the other side of it. And I wanted to write that because I wanted people to know that you're not alone. We all go through this and we can make it to the other side, and not just make it there, but we can learn to thrive. Because I did get to a place where I was like, okay, I've survived this. Okay, I've survived this. Okay, I've survived this. But I don't want us to survive anymore. I want to thrive. And I want other people to as well.
So, did it surprise you that that shift happened? Did it ended up being something different? Like, are you wondering? I don't know. I just want to hear about your process a little bit.
I really, you know what? I had a book of poetry that I had been working on and I had been procrastinating with and being like, oh, I'm gonna. And the last chapter, I wanted it to be this uplifting and inspiring because it's a lot of heavy, heavy stuff in it, right? And um, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this as like to help me get back into that. And I guess I'm surprised to a degree, but what came out was so much more authentic, and I think it has more depth. I think if I did just write about you can do this, people, it might fall on deaf ears. Well, they don't know what I've been through or what I've had to overcome. So in the long run, it is very inspiring, it's very uplifting, but in a very real way, and you have to look for it.
I think the authenticity, the vulnerability of that is what's inspiring. And I think sometimes we're afraid to share the nitty gritty, ugly stuff, or we have this goal to inspire people. But I think both things can inspire people in different ways. Anything
Yeah, it
else you want to
was
say about that? Yeah.
yeah, it was really hard because I knew what I was writing about isn't the most popular thing. It's hard and it's complicated because my poetry is about, in this book in particular, overcoming serious abuse and overcoming serious grief. You know, the loss of a child to suicide is what one of my poems is about. And those are very uncomfortable topics all across the board. And it's very, very vulnerable to be able to put yourself out there. But I do think that you're right. I think when you can be that vulnerable with someone, you allow them to be vulnerable with you, and you allow them the space to say, oh, okay, I do feel like this, and it's okay that I do. And look, somebody else did, and they made it through.
For sure. Ultimately, you are allowing people, giving people the feeling of they have permission to feel all of a sudden. And that is healing right there, right in that one little moment. Oh my goodness, you guys, this book is so full of these gifts, of these moments. And you all can pick up the book and you can turn to any poem and you're going to have a shift and opportunity. These are the opportunities that I'm talking about. Like, will you accept the challenge of feeling these poems? And some are going to be harder than others, and some are going to resonate and some won't, and some will be written just for you. And I hope you all feel that as you get to read our beautiful new book. Nicole, thank you so much for being here today. Nuria, tell us a little bit about the why behind your chapter. And I'll have you unmute too, girl. There we go.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Laura. And I'm very grateful for being a part of this collaborative project. Very, very excited. I have been a fan of poetry since I could remember myself, since very young childhood. So that's something that really kind of brought life into learning for me. I just I could drink in poetry. I can consume poetry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I didn't know that at that time. And I was probably not a very normal case in that way, but I always did. And I still remember most of the poetry from my childhood now. And I sometimes get together with a friend of mine, and he's also extremely big fan of poetry. Both of us, we kind of found each other, and just even like sit through the night and read our favorite poetry by heart that we still remember from childhood. So poetry is something that I feel. And the topic of the chapter, as you mentioned through your introduction earlier, I believe that with my whole soul that every one of us has an inner genius, and all we need is the right environment to thrive. And the emotional agility and mental fitness allows us to reach our inner genius. And a lot of times it's in the hands of our parents and educators, the adults in our lives, who have the key and actually helping us with that. And it's that passion that is kind of the foundational drive for the chapter, where I talk about self-awareness, because self-awareness lays the foundation for our emotional agility and mental fitness at the end.
That's a big, juicy topic that I am a huge fan of. But It's come up in a couple of other of the interviews. There's been talking about teacher mentors, teachers who have said something that was a shift in our life in a very positive way. Of, there's not so great stories about educators also, but what I love the most is hearing the stories. That teacher gave us this one assignment. They said this one thing to me that changed my whole life back then. They told me I could do this, right? And they were just such a positive influence. Yeah, tell me what else do you want to say about that?
For me, I think, see, I grew up in the Soviet Union, and we had a very different education approach. And since very young age, we had to memorize the poetry of some of the big poets. So we memorized them all, and I still remember all of that since first grade. And I spent a couple years living with my aunt when I was in elementary school, and she was a big fan of poetry too. So I remember both of us, we would just be geeking out, reading the poetry and acting it out and singing it out together. So that's kind of my recollection, and I think that gave me the that freedom, that kind of inner emotional freedom of expressing it in all different ways, just spontaneously. When we're cooking, when we're sitting at the dinner, we would just break into poetry.
I love it. What a gift that is, to have that be the experience early on. And a huge thank you to all three of you. Thank you for saying yes to this project, but for just stepping up to the challenge to offer your hearts and souls on these pages in the form of your poems. These are such gifts, and I think that I want people to know that this writing, and then deciding that you're going to publish the writing, but then being here on a podcast and speaking it out loud, these are all layers and levels of the healing journey that you all said yes to. And I thank you for that. I thank you for being brave about that. It's quite a thing to write it in a secret journal that nobody ever reads, but it's another thing to decide that you're going to publish it for the world to read, and such intimate, authentic, and vulnerable pieces. I'm honored, really, and super duper grateful. So Nicole, I'm going to come back to you, and I want to know what the most important thing you want people to know about poetry is.
Oh gosh. The most important thing about poetry is that it comes from your heart, from your soul. It doesn't matter if you have the ABAA pattern. It doesn't matter if it's a sonnet. It doesn't matter if it's a haiku. It doesn't matter what kind of poetry it is. It matters that it comes from your heart, and you allow yourself to fully feel your poetry when you write it. To me, that's what poetry is.
Yes, I love the way that you started this question. I like that answer. Okay, let's add on to it. Nuria, how about you? What's that one most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
I would say it's a multi-sensory experience for me. It's like a song that you can smell and drink and taste, and it can just fill up your whole being.
When it's sensory like that, like I want to say we embody that. It's a whole experience, aside from just trying to read words on a page, read lines on a page and try to figure out if it rhymes or not, right? Like there's no rules to this stuff. Our poems are short and they're long, and they rhyme and they don't rhyme, and they are 1 line, 2 lines, and 1,000 lines, or they're whatever they are. But when we have that experience with them that you're talking about, it's just whole other level of opportunity there to feel. And really, what are we feeling? We're feeling a connection to soul, to essence. This is big potato stuff, you guys. Lisa, what do you want to add to this? What's that one most important thing that you want people to know about poetry?
Be unapologetic. You might write it for yourself in your darkest moments or your favorite moments or your highest moments, and you think it's for you, but when you get to share it with others, that's when you see how it becomes a gift. That's when you see and begin to feel everybody's response, that it's not just you, it's for the world, that we all are one, that we all share the experience together, that we're all here together, we're going through it all together. So be unapologetic. Just don't be selfish. It's everybody feels, and somebody's going to resonate with something, and it's all going to lift everybody up.
Thank you for that. It's the reason that our collaborations are, that we do them, because I want all of your unique voices and all of the different ways that you express yourself. And in a poetry book, holy moly, that just took it to another level with these beautiful words. Okay, so we're going to hear these beautiful poems from you all next. And Nuria, are you ready to go first? Putting you on the spot, girl.
Yes, you did, Miss Laura. I was hoping I would go last, but that's okay.
Okay.
So one of the poems that I'm gonna read is actually from the book. And it's called The Self-Awareness. And I describe it, self-awareness, cozy slippers for your soul. In a heart's serene depth so wide, imagine a cabin by the snowy forest side. The air is so crisp, the world dressed in white. This cabin's your soul's heaven, snug day and night. Cozy slippers adorn your feet just right. As you bask by the fire, its warm, gentle light. Your thoughts like flames, in the hearth they ignite. Some gleam with hope, some dim in the night. Guided by your mind's clear mirror, you gain the insight. Each thought's origin and its soul-stirring flight. A storm outside mirrors the turmoil inside. Emotions swirl like winds, your soul as their guide. Your self-awareness, a lantern shining so bright, unveils self-judgment in the soft, glowing light. You see your triggers, knots once tied so tight. Instead of condemnation, you grant yourself flight. In your soul's cozy cabin, free from the fight, you shed labels like good or bad. What a sight. Accepting life's messiness, oh, what a delight. Self-acceptance and self-love unite, shining bright. Embracing your flaws like stars in the night. You see they're shared by all, a beautiful sight. Kindness over judgment, a compassionate guide. Building bonds of trust, relationships take flight. Wonder why this skill wasn't taught? It's all right. In a world chasing knowledge, inner wisdom took flight. Now you stand at the door, your heart is so light. ready to embark on your journey, pure and bright. With trust in yourself and the universe's might, you're a beacon of light, dispelling the night. As you navigate self, where clarity grew, master awareness. Let your soul's brilliance debut. And with each breath, your soul's mirror comes in view. Reveal your inner sun's light, a path to renew. In the rhythm of your breath, self-awareness grew. Transformation whispers softly as the mirror reflects you.
We're going to give Nuria some shimmery fingers or snaps or claps like we do at the open mic. Thank you, Nuria. That was gorgeous. Beautiful. Okay, let's see. Lisa, you're up next. Are you ready?
I am. The woman, she goes in. The woman, she goes in to feel her peace. The woman, she goes in to be in peace. The woman, she goes in to release all of her worries and doubts. The woman, she goes in for the calm. The woman, she goes back, each visit bringing more clarity. Every return awakening new perspectives. Every step leading to ascension, rising. For her to meet her truth. Have respect for this determined woman. Her forward actions are not weaknesses, but palpable measures in strength. Dutifully bound is she to her divine internal goddess, her return to safety and noble and worthy stability. The climb, it's not beneath her, but it is her sacred victory. Thank you.
I muted myself. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm back here saying, oh my gosh, I loved it so much. That was gorgeous and powerful. Thank you, Lisa. Nicole, are you ready?
I am. Such beautiful poets and such beautiful poetry to be on with. I'm so grateful. I'm going to read one from the book as well. It's called Transformed. I thought, I can't survive this. How could I? It's too horrendous. The loss of a child, seeing him lifeless. There is no possible way that I can survive this. All the light I was made up of had gone dark. My flame, my inner light, extinguished and gone. I'll never smile or laugh or feel joy again. How could I ever feel any of that after losing him? Someone told me a few months after, happiness is a choice and your happiness matters. But I didn't choose this. I rebelled against that thought. He chose this, and the world as I know it is gone. But I continued my path, trying to heal for her. She still needed a parent more than ever, I was sure. Healing was hard, and I was told more than once, life is for the living, and that I deserved love. Assigned a gratitude assignment, I balked. I found it hard to be grateful for anything at all. I'd have given him my last breath after all. I couldn't even be grateful for breathing. So I started small. I was grateful for my girl, my pets, and my experience being mindful. I was grateful that I still found the sun, the moon, and the stars tranquil. Some days I was grateful a stranger smiled or said something hopeful. For my resilience, my healing, and my compassion, I was still grateful. I didn't think this assignment would do much for me at the time, but I was dedicated to it, and perhaps the assigner was right. I used to do this regularly, but it was harder to see the gratitude this time. Still, the more I looked for things to be grateful for, the more I could find. Suddenly, it was there, that flicker of light inside. I had to continue my healing. I had to give it a try. Was it possible that the flame inside hadn't truly died? Was it possible this was something that I could survive? By the third year, I could smile and even laugh once more. It was clear that I couldn't be simply who I was before. And though I was still on a journey to find my new norm, I had survived once again, but I wasn't the same. I was transformed.
Beautiful, Nicole. Thank you. I'll give you some snaps and shimmy fingers. Oh my goodness, ladies, beautiful poetry. Can't wait to share these beautiful poems with the world. The book is a story that helps you get to know our author poets, and they're going to share a moment of their why and a story in this chapter, and then they're going to lay out their poems for you. And then we ask them to include a prompt, a writing prompt for you, something that will help you think or write your own beautiful words. And I love that part of the book so much. And then, of course, you're going to get to know them with their bio and their links, because this is way more than a book, y'all. It's a generous community of authors and poets and healers and artists who are ready to support you on those next steps. Nicole, Lisa, Nuria, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Laura.
So I decided that I should probably read a poem too, since, you know, I'm a part of this book. And so I think I'm going to share this one that's at the very end of the book. It's called I Fly with Angels. Let's run away, stare at the moon, stay warm under the covers much too long. Let's spend the day dreaming, make magic, love, and stardust. Let's taste bliss on our lips under a sky glowing with possibility. Keep me held gently in the soft space of your sweet soul and smile. Remind me to feel, breathe, believe, and laugh. Let's run away to a place we can be wild with desire. Light me up, then come linger by my fire a little longer. Remind me to be urgent about my joy, not waste a drop, not wait one moment. Run with me and my crazy toward the cliff. Jump into my heart, don't look back. Trust me, I have wings. I have ecstasy. I fly with angels. And so do all of you.
That was yummy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love poetry so much. And I want you all to know that I have all of our authors hooked up with their websites down below, you guys. I know something that one of these amazing women said today, something they shared, maybe gave you the goosebumps. Maybe you're curious. Maybe you want to know more about them or read more about their poems and the other things that they have done. So drop on down and explore the websites. There's a lot going on in their amazing worlds. And also you're invited to the book launch party. So we're going to be on Zoom celebrating 100 poems and possibilities for healing on January 12th. We're going to have a little party. I've got some info down below about the party. So please come and join us. And if you're listening to this interview anytime around that date or after, that just means the book is live on Amazon and you can grab your beautiful copy. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.